Hello indie game fans, welcome back to I Dream of Indie, or if it's your first time here at the channel, welcome, I am Ole Gamer Joe. Today we're looking at Oceanhorn 2, Knights of the Lost Realm on the Nintendo Switch, a game that was previously released onto the Apple Arcade back in 2019, and the sequel to the original game, Oceanhorn Monsters of Uncharted Seas, that came out all the way back in 2013. Oceanhorn 2 was both developed and published by Corn Fox and Bros, and it's an action-adventure role-playing game. Unfortunately, the original had passed me by. I always intended to play it. I think it looked great, nice isometric view. I'm a big fan of Zelda-style gameplay, and this seemed to really try to emulate that in a lot of different ways. And of course, it featured composer Nobuo Uematsu, who I'm a huge fan of, Final Fantasy fame if you're not familiar with him for whatever reason. So as I was getting ready to review the sequel, I felt like it was important to go back and visit some footage from the original, and man, was I blown away at just how much of a departure visually Oceanhorn 2 is from its predecessor. The good news for me, and perhaps for you as well, is that this sequel actually takes place 1,000 years before the events of the original, so you don't have to worry about it so much. You might miss an Easter egg here or there, I can't speak to that, but still, it's nice that you can just jump into the story and not feel lost. And speaking of that story, it all begins with one Master Mayfair receiving you as a young child from a demon named Mesmeroth. I guess Mesmeroth here is a deadbeat dad or not ready to be a parent yet, so he hands you off, but thankfully Master Mayfair here does a really good job of raising you, and eventually as you get older, you learn more about your character, where you came from, on your quest to become a knight. As more and more conflicts arise, you'll begin to learn more about your nameless character, but you'll also meet some friends along the way, including a robot named Gen, and Trin, a female character who's really great with a boomerang. Without giving too much away, maybe you could have already guessed this, but Mesmeroth is in fact a total dick, and it sets off a bigger adventure with you trying to stop him once and for all. Alright, so the obvious comparison here is Zelda. There's not going to be any escaping that, and even if I tried to avoid the elephant in the room, you would call me out in the comments. So yes, this game is a lot like 3D Zelda-style games. You collect bombs, you collect heart pieces along the way, which allows you to get more health. You have sword slashing in this game. You have a roll, which helps you to get out of the way of enemy attacks. Pretty much everything that was in the 3D Zelda games is here in Oceanhorn 2. The combat in this game is a decent dance of strategy. You of course have to slash and dodge out of the way of enemy attacks. A lot of these enemies have particular patterns that you'll need to learn, and eventually you do unlock a shield which can help you to block some of the attacks. This shield can also be used to push some environmental objects such as rocks off a cliff. But there is a little bit more to it than that. You have the ability to heal by opening up a quick menu, and it's actually really nice and easy to access. That's not all, however, as eventually Master Mayfair will pass down his caster gun, which is really cool. You can shoot enemies from a distance and load ammo into this gun that includes elemental attacks such as fire and lightning, for example. These attacks are really cool, and not only can they be used against your foes, they can also be used to solve certain environmental puzzles like burning bushes that might be in your way. You'll also find a bunch of other items as you explore this world, including bombs that can be used to blow rocks out of the way, or again also used against enemies strategically. So overall, I really did like the combat system of this game. It's a shame then that the Switch version of the game can't always keep its frame rate, because the combat will not always feel fluid, unfortunately, due to that. Performance of the game can be solid at times. It's admirable for a Switch title, let's face it, this is aging hardware at this point, but unfortunately it does make the game hard to play at certain points. The combat can be frustrating because of this, particularly on boss encounters where the frame rate can drop into the teens. Frame rate gripes aside, outside of the combat, there's a ton of exploration to do in this game, including bloodstones for you to collect. I believe there's around 50 to 57 of them or so in total, and these allow you to collect more money, which can be used to buy a lot of different items. Even though Oceanhorn 2 does have clear inspirations from the Zelda series, it does do some things to stand out on its own. I really like the partner system in this game. You do have a few characters that will follow you from time to time, and you can actually tell them what to do at certain moments in order to solve certain puzzles. Whether it be having your boomerang friend hit a switch from a distance that you otherwise wouldn't be able to reach, or your robot friend standing on a switch so that you can access an area, it really is something different, and I enjoyed it. Overall, yes, the combat is a lot of fun, even though it can be sluggish on the Switch, unfortunately, but on the whole, there are a ton of dungeons to explore in this game, some really entertaining boss fights, despite the fact that the frame rate can dip really low again, and some great puzzles to be solved across this 20 hours or so of gameplay. That's if you're doing everything. I really did have a lot of fun just running around this world, exploring, finding hidden items, and engaging with the combat at certain times was enjoyable. I found that Oceanhorn 2 really did feel lived in and quite large. And I think a big part of that is the graphical overhaul that this sequel has received. Man, they did a really great job creating a 3D world. The handcrafted graphics are gorgeous, there's beautiful set pieces in this game. Even on the Switch, yes, it is a little bit blurry and the resolution isn't where you would like it, but I was still impressed that they were able to cram this game into the Switch hardware. Environments are well detailed, facial animations are a little bit lacking, and some of the character models aren't the best, but on the whole, I really did think Oceanhorn 2 was quite the accomplishment. A very beautiful game, whether you're sailing out in your boat or riding on a hover bike, it's all really beautiful and the pacing of the game is great. As far as the soundtrack goes, while it may not have Uematsu this go around, it really is still quite breathtaking. These are some beautiful compositions. I was really enthralled by a lot of these pieces. Some well orchestrated music that really does tug at the heartstrings, gives you that sense of exploration and freedom that only RPG style games can do. Really great compositions. I absolutely love this soundtrack. Will definitely be picking this one up if it's an option. My advice to you as a player would be not to get too hung up on the fact that Oceanhorn 2 borrows a lot or is inspired a lot by the Zelda series, because it's such a great game. It truly is an excellent achievement on the Nintendo Switch, despite the fact that the frame rate's not where you would like it to be. I think the sense of exploration is wonderful. All of the dungeons are intelligently designed, the boss fights are very entertaining, the combat is fun, again, not as fluid as you would like, but still a lot of fun, and the puzzles are witty and fun to solve as well. I think the pacing of Oceanhorn 2, though, was my favorite part because it's an action RPG and it really emphasizes the action aspect. It doesn't get bogged down with a lot of senseless cutscenes. It focuses on being a great action game, but it's the heroism, romanticism, and ultimately the adventure that will fill your heart with childlike wonderment. So, will you be checking out Oceanhorn 2 Knights of the Lost Realm on the Nintendo Switch? Let us know in the comments section below, and if you have enjoyed our video coverage, consider hitting the subscribe button. Help us to bring a voice to the voiceless ones in gaming. There's a ton of other ways that you can support I Dream of Indie down in the description box below. You can check out our memberships, our merchandise store, or hit up our Discord, Twitter, or Facebook. However you end up supporting us, we thank you so much.